Airport security picked the wrong traveler. And honestly, airport security always seems to happen at the worst possible moment. You're already tired, half awake, and trying not to forget your passport somewhere. Meanwhile, the airport somehow feels like the only place on Earth where perfectly normal adults suddenly forget how lines work. People are panicking about laptops. Someone's arguing over shampoo bottles. A dad is barefoot carrying 3 bags and a crying child. And somehow there's always one guy holding up the entire line because he forgot to empty his pockets. According to the traveler, he wasn't even annoyed about the first search. The security checks happen. That's normal. But the second TSA agent immediately came off. Way more aggressive than necessary. Apparently the guy had this attitude like every passenger personally ruined his day. No eye contact. Short answers. That exhausted don't talk to me energy. And according to the traveler, that's probably why the situation became funny afterward. Because if the TSA guy had just acted polite for 10 seconds, the entire story probably never would have happened. A traveler says he got stopped by TSA after walking through airport security. At first it seemed normal. Metal detector beeped, quick pat down, no big deal. But right after finishing the full search, another TSA agent suddenly stopped him again and said, "You've been randomly selected." Now normally, most people would just sigh and go through the scanner. But according to the traveler, the TSA agent had one problem. He was being unnecessarily rude the entire time. So instead of arguing, the traveler decided to follow instructions exactly. And within seconds, the same TSA worker realized he'd accidentally created the world's pettiest airport revenge story. According to the traveler telling the story, this happened while flying through a busy U.S. airport several years ago. Like most travelers, he was already stressed before even reaching security. Long lines, shoes off, people forgetting laptops, children screaming somewhere in the distance. According to him, so the airport already felt chaotic before TSA even got involved. Eventually, he reached the metal detector checkpoint. At first, everything seemed normal. He emptied his pockets, placed his belongings in bins, walked through the scanner, then suddenly, the detector beeped. According to him, he honestly wasn't even surprised. Airport security systems beep at people constantly, usually over something tiny, so TSA pulled him aside for additional screening. A female TSA agent performed a full pat-down search. According to him, the process was thorough but professional. No issues. No attitude, no drama. Eventually, the search finished successfully. The agent cleared him to continue. According to him, he started putting his shoes back on and collecting his bag. That's when another TSA agent suddenly stopped him again. "You've been randomly selected." According to the traveler, the guy already sounded irritated before the conversation even started. The agent instructed him to step into the full-body scanner. Now, according to the traveler, he personally hated using those scanners. Not because he thought they were dangerous. He just found the whole process awkward and invasive. So politely. He asked whether there was another option available. The TSA agent immediately replied, "You can get another pat down." According to the traveler, he looked genuinely annoyed even answering the question, so the traveler calmly pointed something out. He had literally just finished a pat-down search 30 seconds earlier, according to him. The TSA agent became visibly irritated at this point. Apparently, the man sharply demanded he choose an option immediately. Either scanner or pat-down. That's when the traveler had an idea. According to him, he realized the TSA worker technically gave him a choice, and he intended to follow instructions perfectly. So without arguing, he quietly turned around, took 2 steps backward, and walked directly back to the same female TSA agent who had already searched him moments earlier. Then, according to him, he spread his arms out again silently for another pat-down. The woman reportedly looked completely confused at first, then annoyed, then deeply exhausted with humanity. According to the traveler, she asked why he was back again. He calmly explained, "Your coworker said I was randomly selected and needed another search." At that point, the second TSA agent apparently looked furious because, technically, The traveler was complying perfectly, so the female agent performed another complete pat-down search, and according to the traveler, the entire situation became increasingly awkward for everyone nearby. People in line started staring. Other TSA workers noticed the confusion. Even nearby passengers reportedly looked amused. Then, during the second search, the traveler decided to ask one final question, according to him. He casually looked at the TSA agent and asked, "Did you find anything new this time?" Apparently, she stared absolute daggers into his soul afterward. But she finished the search anyway, and according to him, they finally let him leave without further issues. The traveler said the funniest part wasn't even the extra pat-down itself. It was watching the rude TSA agent slowly realize he accidentally created the situation him. Because if he'd simply spoken politely from the beginning, the traveler probably would have just used the scanner and moved on. Instead, his attitude turned the entire encounter into pure malicious compliance. And honestly, that's probably why the story stayed memorable years later. Not because it was dramatic, not because anyone got arrested, but because it perfectly captured the weird petty frustration almost everyone experiences at airports eventually. And somewhere out there's probably still a TSA agent who remembers the guy that got searched twice, simply because he followed instructions to literally
the pettiest revenge against a bank ever. A man tried closing an old retirement account after changing jobs. Simple enough, right? Not according to the financial company handling the account. Because when he called to transfer his money, they informed him there would be a ridiculous $50 account closing fee. Now, honestly, most people would just pay it and move on. But according to the man, the fee annoyed him so much that he decided to become the most petty customer imaginable. Instead of closing the account, he left exactly $50 inside it. And for years afterward, the company was forced to keep mailing him statements, processing transfers, and maintaining the account, all because he refused to let them win over $50. According to the man telling the story, this all started after changing jobs several years earlier. His old employer had provided a retirement account through a major financial company. At first, everything about the account seemed normal. Money went in automatically. Investments slowly grew. Nothing exciting. Then eventually, he accepted a new job at a different company. The new employer used another retirement provider entirely, so naturally, he decided to roll his old retirement funds into the new account. According to him, he expected the process to be simple. One phone call, a few forms, done. Instead, the representative casually mentioned something annoying. There would be a $50 account closing fee. According to the man, the fee instantly irritated him. Not because $50 would bankrupt him, but because the charge felt completely pointless. In his mind, they were charging him simply for leaving. And honestly, a lot of people watching probably understand that feeling immediately. Banks and financial companies love random fees. Convenience fees, maintenance fees, transfer fees, closing fees. Sometimes it genuinely feels like they invent new charges just because they can. So according to him, he immediately started thinking of ways around it. At first, he tried being clever. He asked whether he could simply leave $1 inside the account permanently. No closure, no fee. But according to the representative, that wouldn't work. Apparently, the account required at least $50 remaining to stay active. That's when the idea hit him. According to the story, he suddenly realized something hilarious. If the company wanted $50 left inside the account, then fine. He'd leave exactly $50. Forever. So he instructed the company to transfer every single cent out of the account, except for $50 exactly. According to him, the representative processed it without understanding the problem yet. Meanwhile, the man had already committed mentally to becoming unbelievably petty, because now the company still had to maintain the account, still had to mail statements, still had to process tax documentation, still had to provide customer service support. All for an account barely worth anything anymore. And according to him, that became the entire joke. Every year afterward, he'd call them again. The tiny balance inside the account would slowly grow through investments and interest. Maybe $53, maybe $58, sometimes $60. Then every single year, he'd transfer everything back out again until exactly $50 remained. According to him, it slowly became a tradition, a weird annual ritual fueled entirely by stubbornness. And honestly, that's probably what makes the story so funny. Because the financial impact became completely irrelevant years ago, this wasn't about money anymore. It became personal. The man even admitted he planned to continue doing it for decades if necessary. According to him, he fully intends to die with that retirement account still technically open. All because he refuses to let them collect the stupid closing fee. And over time, he realized something even funnier. The company had probably already spent far more than $50 servicing the account, printing statements, mailing documents, handling transfers, maintaining support systems, processing annual paperwork. According to him, the irony became deeply satisfying because the company's own policy accidentally created the exact kind of customer they probably hated most. A customer motivated entirely by spite, and honestly, that's why the story spread online afterward. Not because the revenge was huge, but because it felt weirdly relatable. Almost everybody has dealt with some ridiculous corporate fee at some point. And deep down, a lot of people probably wish they'd responded this way too. And somewhere inside that financial company's system, there's probably still a retirement account sitting quietly with exactly $50 in it, kept alive entirely out of pure stubborn hatred for a closing fee. This story is hilarious because it's such a tiny amount of revenge. Nobody lost millions. Nobody got fired. It's literally just one guy refusing to let a company win $50. But honestly, that's exactly why people love petty revenge stories, because they feel achievable. Almost everybody has experienced a moment where a company charges some random fee that instantly makes you irrationally angry, and usually, you just sigh and pay it. This guy decided to turn that frustration into a multi-decade commitment instead. And honestly, you have to respect the dedication. The funniest part might actually be the yearly routine itself. Imagine being the employee processing the transfer every year thinking, wait, this guy again? At some point, he probably became a legendary account internally. The immortal $50 retirement account. But what do you think? Was this legendary petty revenge? Or would you have just paid the fee and moved on? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy malicious compliance, petty revenge, and funny real-life stories like this, make sure to subscribe for more.